Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Florian, good to see you. To every single new subscriber or everyone who doesn't know me yet, I'm Florian. Welcome guys, great to have you here on the channel. For everyone who's tuning in again, guys, welcome back. You guys are awesome. Thank you for your support. Today we're going to talk about slightly something different. Today we're going to talk about my first wedding experience with the Fujifilm X series. As mentioned in one of my last videos, I had the chance to shoot a little wedding. Unfortunately, a lot of COVID regulations been still in place, but it's still been like around 5 hours of coverage I had the chance to shoot. And today we're gonna talk through how I got on with the Fujifilm X system for weddings, what lenses I used, what was my gear, how I did prep my time beforehand, and I'm gonna show you some example pictures as well, or the final result, and then we're talking through what I think, how I got on. And by the end of the video, I hope you guys are confident enough to say, if you get the chance to shoot the wedding as well, to do so. And keeping in mind guys, I'm nowhere a professional wedding photographer at all. This was my first wedding, so let's see how I got on.
Give me your strength and show me your weakness.
So let's start off with the pre-prep, or with the conversation with the bride basically. So I checked timings, what time I meant to be there, what she's looking for in images, how the day looks like, how's the day running, what time is basically what happened. Let's say 11 o'clock she came back from a hairdresser. So at 11 o'clock I rocked up at the house, took some pictures of her wedding dress or any accessories she wanted to have, such as like shoes, flowers, rings, wedding card invitations, etc, etc, etc. Then you literally, or I literally just walked my way around what happened between 11 o'clock and up to the time when she gets married by 2 o'clock. A lot of things happened at home because of the COVID regulations, weren't allowed to do somewhere else at this time. So we stayed at home, limited number of people, and then basically you just walk your way around how the situation is at home. You take pictures of the people itself, of the mother, of the father, etc. If you might struggle to remember what you want to shoot or what sort of images you want to take, always make sure you got some sort of checklist as well. I written a little checklist on a phone to say, okay, I need pictures of the rings, of the shoes, of a wedding dress, invitation cards. I took detail shots of her hair before she did wear the wedding dress and as she did wear the wedding dress as well, to get as many detail shots as well as I could take. And then basically I literally walked my way around. Then by 2 o'clock we went to the registry office. Unfortunately I wasn't allowed in because again, COVID regulations, the number been limited, so I needed to wait outside, unfortunately. And then basically afterwards we're gone and took a few more pictures at the park next to a church, which you will see as well in a minute. So let's talk through the gear I used. I shot with the X-T3 as my main camera and the X-T4 I'm filming myself with right now as my second body. The X-T3 was combined with the 18-55, 2.824, and I had the 10-24 on a X-T4 as my second setup basically. Thinking about it, I would change the 10-24 definitely for the 23mm f2, just for the wide aperture, because I shot at home and I didn't know how the situation or the lighting situation will be. I should have chosen the 23mm f2 for the light gathering, or to get enough light through the lens to the sensor to make sure that my shutter speed is higher and my ISO is lower. On the other hand side, the 18-55, even if it's a variable aperture, did a great job. At the beginning I had the camera set completely to automatic mode and I shot an aperture priority. This did change a bit after a while, after I shot a few pictures at home, because I decided, okay, I can cope if the ISO sits at 2500 rather than 3200, which a camera would have programmed the ISO into. So I decided, okay, I swap the ISO down to 2.5 or 1800 or 1600, whatever ISO you wanted to use in this moment, because I knew if I turn down the ISO and I underexpose my picture, I get better off in post-process than letting a camera decide what to do. So I did struggle a bit to believe that the camera will expose my picture right. And this was one of my biggest concerns as I switched the camera to fully auto mode, or basically to aperture priority mode, to trust the camera enough that the camera will capture the image what I see or how I would like it. So at the end of the day, I need to say, after I've taken a few shots, of course the camera will expose for the overall picture, but at the end of the day, you might want to underexpose the picture because of whatever reason you might have, or you want to secure the highlights, you want to make sure the shadows are right, or you want to overexpose the shadows a bit. The camera won't do this really. So you need to switch to manual mode to control those functions at some point. And this is what I did. And I think the images and the results I got out of it are very decent. Because we shot at home and I didn't know how the lighting scenario will be, I had the option of a little additional flash for on top of the camera as well. I did choose not to use it for the simple reason because I wanted to capture as many natural feelings from a people as possible. I could imagine, or my point of view was, if someone flushes every 2 seconds, his flush in my face, I would get upset at some point, or I might get headache, or whatever it will be. Walking around those wedding people, or those people as a ghost, let's put it this way, and trying to capture as most natural feelings as possible, I think I was better off without the flush. In certain moments I wish I would have used the flush, maybe for group pictures, or when they knew we're gonna take a group picture or certain images, and I probably should have used this one. But as in general, I wanted to try to capture as many natural moments, movements as possible. And I think a lot of images will reflect this. As the bride got into her dress, I definitely swapped over to the 56mm 1.2 for the compression and also to blur out the background enough. And sometimes I just put the focus onto the hands and blurred out the background, or I just wanted to have her corsage in frame and everything else in the back outer frame. And I think the 56 with the light capability, or with the f-stop of 1.2, is definitely a very great option for this. You compress your background nicely, everything falls apart behind her, but you got in focus or in frame what you need or what you would like. So the 56 is definitely a nice option to have at home, but you need to keep in mind, guys, if you shoot in rooms where you don't have much space, the focal length of 56 might be too telezoom and you need to back too far off. So always keep in mind that if you try to use a 56 and you want to make a step back, that you got enough space as well. Sometimes I wish I could have made another step or another 2 steps back, but it is what it is sometimes. And if you get basically, or if you shoot at home, it is what it is. That's their home, they're living there, and you basically walk your way around the situation. But still, the images are great, they're working well, and I'm quite happy how they came out with the 56 1.2. So overall, after we needed to leave the house, I also took some pictures from her getting into the car. I thought it's a very nice additional picture when she tries to squeeze herself with the dress into the car. It sounds maybe a bit funny, guys, but the wedding dresses are so huge and you literally need to stuff the wedding dress into the car at some point. So as we arrived at the registry office, there have been 2 lenses I used. That is the 50-140 to give me the reach when the bride and groom walking out of a registry office, and the 56 as well. And let's say 90% of the images in front of a registry office I shot with the 50-140, And I need to say, this lens did not let me down at all. I hit focus, I got captured what I wanted to capture. So I barely switched to the 56 1.2 in this moment and mainly used the 50-140 as my main workhorse in front of the registry office. After the registry office, we took a few family pictures, which still got shot with the 50-140. I think, personally speaking, it was the right focal length, so I could make sure that everyone is in frame, so that I don't cut any hands off or feet off or whatsoever. After the registry office, we went then to the church, which unfortunately you couldn't get married at this time because of all the COVID regulations, but we got some nice images in or around the church with a bit of a green area around. And there have been basically two lenses I used. I definitely used the 10-24 f4 because I wanted to make sure that I got a whole church in frame as well, with the bride and groom in front of it. So basically I want an environmental portrait to make sure I show the surroundings, I show the church, and then the bride and groom in front of it. And pretty much all other images I shot again with the 50-140 because I thought it would be the best flexibility to walk around with a zoom range of 50-140 or your 70-200 roughly in full frame terms. And I need to say I'm very happy with how this all worked out. I never shot the wedding before, guys, and this was my first real wedding. And beside from my struggle or my being nervous beforehand a bit, or quite a bit actually, on the day itself, because I didn't want to screw it up. I never shot the wedding. I knew how to use a camera, I knew how to pose someone if it's a set up portrait shoot, but actually shooting a wedding is a completely different level when you start. And I missed one or two shots because of I changed the autofocus setting on a camera without even realizing, but everything went so far that I literally missed two shots, which I would love to have right now. But I think, and I would like to say, that's just beginner mistakes. And I need to say there was, or she didn't charge me or I didn't charge her because of it was my first wedding. I offered her to shoot the wedding and she agreed to it. And as in general, if you get your kit ready for the wedding itself, make sure you got enough batteries, make sure all your lenses are cleaned, make sure your SD cards are empty and ready in a camera. Make sure, I personally had way too much gear with me, what I needed for the day itself. I had an additional flash with me, I had a little flash for on top of the camera. If I would shoot it again, I definitely would use this one indoors, even just bouncing it off the wall behind you just to fill in the shadows a bit, that the ISO doesn't need to be too high. I did trust the camera to shoot easily a ISO of 3200. I even bumped it up sometimes to 4,000 or 5,000 with the knowledge of the images might be a bit grainy, but then I had a certain image in my mind to say, okay, if it's a bit grainy, I convert it in black and white and it would look absolutely fantastic in black and white. So overall, guys, make sure that all your batteries are charged. I took even chargers with me itself just to make sure that if I would run out of battery power, I can charge my battery. I took a power bank with me to run a charger over the power bank, that I didn't even need to rely on any sockets or plugins at home, so that I'm very flexible where I can charge my batteries. I could charge them in the car, I could charge them in my camera bag or whatsoever. So as in general, guys, I think there is no right and wrong, there is no right prep, there is no wrong prep when you start out. Just make sure that you got all your gear. You rather take a bit too much gear than you don't have enough gear. Make sure you got enough SD cards as well. I bought a few SD cards. And also what is very helpful is a double shoulder strap for it as well, just to make sure that if on a day you can hang both cameras around you. So guys, with that said, I hope that this little video today was helpful, that this insight makes you comfortable enough to maybe shoot the wedding by yourself, to say, my brother, my sister, my friend, or whoever gets married, I'm gonna ask them, I'm gonna give it a shot, and I'm gonna see how I get on. With that said, guys, like, comment and subscribe. If you got any question, leave them down in the comments and I will get back to you as soon as I can. And with that said, I'm gonna see you, my friend, very soon in another video. Cheers, guys.
Give me your strength and show me your weakness. We're in this together now. We're in this together now.